Welcome to Uncut Coffee. Today we're having another episode of Uncut Coffee, where we'll be preparing coffee using a Siphon Brewer. I'm very excited to be able to make this episode of Uncut Coffee, partially because I actually tried to make it before, but I neglected to restock on matches and was unable to light up the burner for actually using the Siphon Brewer. So this is actually take number 2. I suppose you could say, though I didn't get very far in the first one, so I wouldn't say much was lost. Additionally, I actually haven't tried this particular roast yet. I've noticed recently, and I think it's more something that I noticed rather than a new trend, that many coffees focus more on actually saying what kind of notes you're going to notice, rather than if it's a dark, medium, or light roast. If it does say it's a dark, medium, or light roast, it will almost certainly still include what you will notice in that roast, but it's not exclusive. Within that, sometimes I'll be looking for specifically a dark roast, and although I'll often make assumptions based on the notes, I do find myself wondering if I should just choose something I've had before, but it certainly is a dark roast, or if I should just be a little more adventurous and try the unlabeled coffees that I am yet to have had. And I usually like to err on the side of exploring. After all, although I don't know the number, there are only so many cups of coffee I'm going to get to enjoy, so I may as well enjoy as many different unique ones as I can. Of course, I don't mean that literally as in I'll die after a specific number of coffee cups drank, but as in my life is limited, as is everyone's, and eventually I'll have had my last cup. I won't know when that is, and I don't think it'll be for quite some time, but it just shows that you gotta make the most of every one. Right now I'm going to go ahead and wait for that water to get heated up so that I can actually freshen up or pre-soak the filter. I replaced the cloth for this filter recently, so I actually need to let it soak for the first time. However, in the meantime, I can go ahead and start getting this set up. The water a little bit longer. I'll actually go ahead and put this to the side. I'll use the scale for the timing aspect, but I don't actually need it to weigh anything at this point, as I'm actually know the volume of the coffee based on the measurings within the siphon itself. Needing our little stir today as well. I am always also looking for more coffee experiments to put on my standard shorts. Although I do a little bit of repetition because this is, of course, to document my growth in my coffee journey. I do still like to do new things too. So if anyone ever thinks of anything new or new ideas to try with coffee, please let me know in the comments section. I know that someone actually made a recommendation in my last tea coffee video about different ways to try brewing coffee with tea. And I took a little bit of inspiration from that, and I have something coming out soon. But I'd always love to hear other people's advice and ideas for things to try with coffee. If there's something simple like a particular roast or a nice little experiment. Go ahead and start soaking this now. And then we can actually pour. A little bit more water. We're going to be making a small amount today. Don't need too much coffee. I just want to have a small amount to make and enjoy. With the siphon, I often break that up into smaller cups, like almost if I'm serving shots of espresso. I don't know if that's the standard or not, but that's often how I feel it's a good way to serve it. It also helps coffee cool faster, as opposed to keeping it all together in one large cup. It also doesn't make me feel as bad for having as much coffee, because it's just a bunch of small drinks, nothing big. Though I think a lot of people would argue the inverse of having one big drink feels like a lot less than many smaller ones. Anyway, having let that soak for a minute. A little clumsy there. I've had a lot of problems with this piece in the past. As you can see now, snapping. I may invest in a new one in the near future. For now, we're just gonna make this work. This may be one of the last few times I actually show this particular setup, as I'll be moving relatively soon. Most likely after this video comes out, but still before. There we go. Before any too many more come out. So if you really love this set, take it in while you can. Of course, remember if you watched an old video, I'll have to find a new setup in the new place that I end up in. Almost forgot where I placed those matches that I went out of my way to procure. I know a lot of people won't run their matches underwater before tossing them, just kind of smush them with their fingers. It doesn't really matter, of course, but I always prefer to be on the cautious side in that regard. Go ahead and let that heat up a little bit. No, not there yet. Soon I'll actually go ahead and top that in, and let me go ahead and prepare my thermometer to take a temperature for it. As that water starts to rise up, get this turned on. Temperature is, of course, very important for all methods of brewing coffee. The Siphon Brewer is no different in that regard. That's why it's important to make sure that you have the right temperature before you put in your grounds. Although this does appear to be boiling, it is in in fact not at a boiling temperature, it's still below. I actually want to get more into the 198s that I traditionally would with coffee. We're still in the high 180s. Temperature steadily increasing now. I think we'll be in the right area soon enough. Of course, I cannot fully coat the thermometer either, so that is one downside, at least not without burning my fingers. I would say that we have achieved the right temperature now. Go ahead and add our grounds. I'm going to get an initial stir, and then I'm going to start that timer. For just over a minute. That is one of the fun things about this method of brewing coffee, is that it's for 1 minute that you're going to actually let it steep while the fire is going, but then it'll actually finish steeping while it's descending into the bottom chamber. This is the method, of course. It's often acquainted to being a science experiment of sorts. Some of my friends have even likened it to the Breaking Bad series. I believe they actually have a fairly complex siphon system, one of the characters in that show. Though I haven't watched it myself, I'm sure some people think I should. And I may. Certainly not. That's not what this channel is about, though. But I do think that it is fun to liken it to other things, as it is one of the most showy methods of brewing coffee, and it's one of the most fun to watch, especially from not only me actually brewing it, but actually getting to, but actually watching someone else brew it. We're just over a minute now, so I'm actually going to go ahead and take away the flame. With this, unlike the mat fry, I put it under water first. I don't want to ruin the entire burner, so I'll just pop the lid back on there. I know I've mentioned this before, but I actually rinse my coffee equipment in the filtered boiled water, because it is good water that makes good coffee. And so making sure that my tools are also good is very important, of course. Now I'm going to give it another quick stir. Mix this off one final time. Another thing, a lot of people will pour old coffee grounds down their disposal or their sink, regardless of whether or not they have a disposal. If you're going to do it, make sure you have a disposal. Even if you have a disposal, though, try to minimize the number of grounds you get in your sink. It can easily cause a clog, because the grounds can expand with water and really get stuck in there. It's a common problem that I see with a lot of, or hear about, and I've even experienced it in one of my jobs when I was actually working. Now, I wouldn't say as a barista, but that was part of the job, was making coffee drinks. And even then, for the most part, grounds weren't actually thrown out into the sink. It was just, they were rinsed into there. So there's no disposal, so it easily clogged things up. think that our coffee is just about done. It is going to take a second to cool, and again, that is part of the reason that I actually do like to go ahead and pour into many smaller cups. Go ahead and check that camera angle though, since there's no cuts. Gotta check it live. I think that's not terrible. The cups are fairly in the forefront. I mean, a little bit of airtime can help it cool off too. Not just for show. You see somebody do that in a bar, for instance, while mixing drinks. Because actually aeration is really important for alcohol. For coffee, it helps it cool. There are also maybe effects in terms of the aeration on the flavor. In fact, I'm almost certain there probably is, though that's one that is not, at least to my knowledge, nearly as well known or experienced. Even like this, of course, I still need them to cool a little bit before I can start drinking them. You can see they're still steaming. Well, I don't know how it shows it on the camera. These are steaming. And actually it smells very nice. And I'm very excited to try this new roast with that in mind, but I am not keen on burning my tongue. I learned from my last few experiences of getting overexcited in terms of getting to taste test my coffee, to make sure to be patient and wait. While we are waiting though, we can go ahead and start cleaning this out. Give that a rinse for now. Finish it off later. For you, as I mentioned, you want to make sure you get your grounds into a trash can in an ideal situation. Of course, you can see there are still plenty of grounds stuck within this, as I am yet to clean it, and I may, likely when I'm trying to rinse those out, some of them will end up in the sink, but since I do have a garbage disposal that usually keeps things in fairly good shape, so I'm not too concerned about it. But I will, of course, probably run a paper towel or cleaning cloth through there to try and get what I can off first. Finish cleaning that later. This is no cuts, but it doesn't matter. And I show most of the process, but the cleanup, I think I can largely keep out since my coffee has started to cool. It smells great. Let's see if it tastes just as good. Still hot, so I need to be careful drinking it, but it's a very lovely coffee. It was very fun to make, and I hope it was fun to watch. So anyway, thank you again for watching. Have a great rest of your day.